Hello, everyone. I'm author R.L. Raintree, and I know you're expecting me to say that this is Reels and Reads, where I give honest reviews and occasional spoilers, but that's not what this is today. Today is my March roundup. This is my first time doing this. I actually wanted to do a quarterly roundup, but I don't have that kind of time. So we're just going to do a March roundup, and maybe I'll do a mid-year roundup for all the books I've done for the year. Now, some of these books are on Kindle. Some of these books I did not actually do a review for on social media. So some of these you will not have seen before. I'm not going to go too much in detail with the novels. I'm just going to give you a quick overview so you can decide if you want them in your TBR or if they're already in your TBR, if you want to move them up. So let's get started. Now, in no particular order, we have Black Silk. Now, I did not do a review on this anthology. This has been in my TBR for years, and a lot of people told me on social media they've had this in their TBR for years. One of my favorite stories in this anthology is by Eric Jerome Dickey about a man who basically cheated on his girlfriend, and they were perfect together, and he just ruined everything. She decided to go for security. She got married, and now he wants one more night with her, thinking maybe that'll bring her back. But the way Eric Jerome Dickey wrote this story, I miss that man so much. It was so good that I added more Eric Jerome Dickey to my TBR. I will say that not all the stories are good. We got one where a woman, made her man some type of jalapeno-based meal and then performed fellatio, so that was hilarious. And then we have other stories where it's like, I don't think you know what a short story is. Like, a lot of this is flash fiction. A lot of it lets you know that intimacy is defined very differently from different people, and so is erotica. So because there are so many stories in here, you get many different versions of erotica, intimacy, and what the definition of a short story is. But I do highly recommend this for authors, to kind of get a feel for all the different ways that you can portray intimacy and erotica. Up next, we have Judge Stone. This book is heavy, child. I don't even know where James Patterson's influence is in this novel. It really feels like Viola Davis wrote this completely on her own. I just posted a review on this, so please feel free to go to my channel and look it up. I loved the voice in this. I love the style in this. I took my time with this because everything in this book felt so familiar. Nova felt familiar. Judge Stone felt familiar. It was like going home. This felt really familiar, and it happens to be about something that is a current event, a person having an abortion in a state where abortion is illegal, and it's about the judge who has to preside over that case. I will say that the photograph on the book is definitely a spoiler, so be mindful of that. I did take issues with some of the legal proceedings being non-realistic, because on the first third of the book, the legalities were flawless, and then all of a sudden they started becoming completely unrealistic. So I wonder if James Patterson had more influence on the legal proceedings early on in the book, and then Viola Davis took over towards the end. I honestly don't know, but as a person who doesn't typically read crime novels, court or legal style fiction, this held my attention. Again, I took my time. The chapters are short. It's about 419 pages, but no matter how thick this book is, you will not put it down. Everyone I know tried to read this in 2 sittings, whether they were successful or not. I would actually read this twice. And I've been recommending it to people who don't typically read this genre. If you don't typically read this genre, this is an excellent introduction to it. And if I remember correctly, I gave this 4 stars, again, because of some of the happenings in the courtroom and the lack of character depth for Judge Stone herself. Judge Stone was the same in a courtroom as she was at home, and I wanted to see more depth in her personality. Up next, we have Carmilla. I did a review on this one. This is only about 100 pages. This book was written, I believe, in 1872. A lot of you are addicted to Remick. I am too, from Sinners. And so if you're really into Irish vampires, I think it's important that I tell you that this is the book that inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula. Sheridan Le Fanu, despite popular opinion, it was not a woman. Sheridan Le Fanu was an Irish man. This version of vampires, because vampires are pretty much in every culture, but this version of vampires is actually Irish. The most popular style of vampire fiction comes from Ireland, and Ireland does not get credit for it. That's what made Sinners so brilliant, is the fact that they put back the affiliation with vampires as we know it today back to Ireland, where it came from. I'm not saying that vampires came from Ireland, I'm saying that what we know today is all based on the Irish legends of vampires. So Carmilla is told from the point of view of a young woman named Laura who is being fed upon by Carmilla the vampire. Now Sheridan got some flack for this because he's a man writing from the point of view of a woman, and they felt that she was shallow and too naive. But I feel that that was highly necessary for her to be naive and a little bit ditzy, because if she became fully aware that she was being fed on by a vampire, then this story wouldn't work. And it is because of Sheridan Le Fanu's portrayal of Laura in this story that Bram Stoker took his version of vampires and made them the type that can invade your psyche, the way he talked to Mina through her mind, that they don't just physically invade your space, they invade it emotionally, telepathically, romantically, and that's why we have the version of vampires that we have today. This is definitely worth the read. Please be forewarned that this is not a sapphic romance as it has been portrayed throughout time. The closest thing to sapphic romance we have is Carmilla basically throwing herself at Laura, but she only does so because she needs to distract her from the fact that she's actually feeding on her. You should definitely read this book if you're into vampire fiction. Now, this next book I read on Kindle Unlimited. It's His and Hers by Alice Feeney. Again, I don't do detective drama, so this is the first detective drama I'd read in quite a long time. I think the last time I remember reading detective drama would have been Whispers by Dean Koontz, and that was decades ago, and even then it had already been old. But His and Hers I thought was really great. We got many different perspectives. I was convinced I knew who the killer was, only to find out I was so far wrong. So I actually went back and started reading it again to see where all the clues were. And though it all fit after the fact, I was kind of annoyed that a book so simple managed to fool me. I did do a review on the novel as well as the TV show. The TV show definitely changed quite a few things, but not everything. The TV show was really clunky and clumsy in how it pulled it off. The book was 100% better than the show, but there were definitely some things I would have changed. So definitely recommend that you read His and Hers even if you've already seen the miniseries. 14 Days in February was a short story that I also read on Kindle Unlimited, and it's still available to you. The biggest issue I had with this was the lack of boundaries being preserved here. We had a protagonist, I don't even know if you want to call this a protagonist or anything, but the male love interest was basically violating her boundaries, not telling her, what the plans were when they went on dates. When she said no to things, he would just laugh it off and feast upon her Gucci to kind of get her to get over it. And I kind of didn't like that, but I appreciate the fact that there are people who love that in their romance novels or in their smut. I don't like boundaries being broken. There are very rare circumstances where I'm okay with that, but he would do things like tell her, get dressed, we're going out. So she puts on her freakum dress, and next thing you know, she's meeting his mother. I don't find that attractive at all. I was just turned off the entire time I read this novel, but it wasn't completely useless. I think it was a good, entertaining short story to read. If this had been a full novel, I would not be recommending it. But because it's a short story, I say give it a read, give you something, a palate cleanser, give you something that you can kind of get through in a day so that you can kind of get back into the habit of reading. But it's not something that I would just openly recommend to other people. It's kind of like if you tell me it's in your TBR, I say, yeah, go ahead and read it. It's not going to be bad. I just didn't like the lack of boundaries. And next we have They Always Come Back. My biggest problem with this one, which happened to be my first 1-star review, was that it was marketed as a sweet romance, and it's not. This would be better as a contemporary drama. There was sexual assault, there was kidnapping, there was a lot involved in this. This was not a romance novel, but had it been marketed as a contemporary drama, I most definitely would have given it, I think I gave it 3 to 4 stars. The main female character is going to frustrate the hell out of you. She makes horrible decisions that make you just want to slap her in the damn face, but you can't do that because she's a fictional character and you have no access to her. So that's everything I read this month. Please hop in the comments and let me know what you read and what you think I should read for the month of April. Thank you so much for watching.